it dawned on me, punk, and it was like all of a sudden, just like, oh, I'm Satan. People usually get shocked when I say that, like, what? Who are we listening to here? But work with me for a moment. Because the way I saw myself was not worthy of God's love. I felt angry. I felt abandoned, betrayed, and rejected. And every thought that I noticed and everything that I did was to stay safe from rejection. I was in need of acceptance and in fear. I lived in fear of rejection.
This is RealChatz Studio.
Alrighty. Michael, thank you so much for joining me today. I am very excited about this one. So for our viewers, let's just introduce you a little bit and get to know you a little bit. So if you don't mind, please tell me a bit about you, who you are, where you come from, or a bit about your story and what you do now.
Thank you. Sure. Where I come from and who am I?
Big questions, I know.
That's a loaded question. Okay. Michael, and I was born in Welkom in the Free State and grew up there actually mostly for the first few years of my life in a little town outside of Welkom called Oudendalsrus. And beautiful way to grow up for a child, because I could walk to school or later on use a bicycle to go to school, and kids could run away. Kids could run around on the roads by themselves, which was lovely. Then moved to Welkom later, and then from Welkom we moved from there to Pretoria at the age of 15. I was 15 years old when we moved there. Then everything was so different for me that I battled to cope. It was a kind of a culture shock, and it was also a different syllabus, I think it was as well. The school that I came from was comfortable, and I enjoyed myself then. With the school that I was put in, battled to get along with whatever was going on there. And then asked my father if I could leave school and maybe finish whatever I was busy with outside of school in a technicon or something. He said, yes, we can do that. He took me out of school. And the next moment I was in the army. So spent a year and a bit in the army. That was in Voortrekkerhoogte. And after that, came out and started doing odd jobs and started surviving. Spent a bit of time, because I no longer resonated with my father at that point. This was something was telling me to get out of the house, which was him. So, and then ended up on the streets of Sunnyside, which was a lot of fun for me, and living in a state of survival, but using my people skills that I built up to be taken in by people. Some evenings I did spend on the street, quite a few actually, and but people took me in, which was nice. I can actually feel the frequency, if I remember, of that. I can feel me going there as we speak about it. But the most amazing thing I feel that I experienced at that time of my life was learning humanity, learning humans, and learning how the people that didn't have a lot were the people that always gave a lot, which was something that I quite appreciated from people. After that, sure, what happened after that? Can't remember much after that. I started working at clubs. Enjoyed being a barman, and eventually picked up some body and became a bouncer as well. Quite enjoyed that. All good for the ego.
Yeah.
And after that, I met a beautiful lady and we decided to get married. And then shall I go there in the story?
You are welcome to take this where you like.
Just to lightly touch on it so
Yeah.
that people can just see a little bit of the past and how I got onto the path that I am now. So just to lightly touch on that.
Yeah.
We expected a child, a baby boy, and the baby boy was born still. And then a few months after that, my wife's mother also passed, and it was just too much for her, and she committed suicide.
Sure.
So that was a point in my life, a massive turning point. It was a beautiful turning point because it took away so much. It took away my fear. It took away my reason. So taking away the reason and also taking away the fear, I started living life, but carelessly so. And the drug path opened up for me, and tried to escape, and did a bloody good job of escaping. And discovered so much of life and discovered so much of myself, but so much of my darkness, so much of manipulation and the dark path. I feel like that was like kind of my dark arts training and of life. So that was a beautiful experience for me. And then when that was done, because I do believe everything in life is cyclical, I really believe that as somebody that is a shaman as well and a spiritual teacher. When the cycle was done, it was just done, and I knew that it was just done, and I wanted to get out. As I exited that path, I realized when I walked that path, I fully realized that path was a dead end. I came to a point of a realization where I felt that this path is not going anywhere. So I'm either going to end up in jail or I'm going to die. That this is like the only thing that is left here. And as I touched the wall of hell on the other side, I decided to turn around and come this side. I said, okay, I felt how that feels. And it's like a word I used, an Afrikaans word I used the other day. It was so funny when it came out of my mouth. I realized the simplicity of it. It felt ongerieflik. Ongerieflik is the word that came to me, and it is like uncomfortable. It's like temporary relief, but it's as if you're constantly in a state of discomfort, but like a real internal distortion discomfort. There isn't like a relaxed nervous system. The nervous system is constantly in fight or flight and survival. So I decided to turn around and come this way and feel how it feels on the light side of life. And the only thing I knew then, because I grew up as a Christian, I went to church and I said, okay, cool. This guy called Jesus Christ, I'm gonna give him a go, because he felt like he fitted for me. So I said I give my life to Jesus, and because there was literally nothing else. I was rock bottom. Spent 8 months in rehab, in a rehabilitation center, actually Newport Christian Care Center, where I got to study the Bible, which was I loved that I could consume that text as well, which was quite nice for me. And then I didn't go to church often. I just read the Bible and studied the Bible, but I felt like I had a voice in my head, like Jesus was guiding me. And an interesting thing that I've said on other podcasts as well was that he told me that to stop worshiping him and to start following his advice. So to stop making him a golden calf and to start following his way. And he showed me that his way was to embody God, to embody his own God or his own Christ nature. And I didn't have a clue what that meant at that stage, but to walk a path of purity was presented to me. And to then also to go to understand that this spiritual path that I was now going on with the guidance of Jesus was to purify myself. And what this purification meant to me was to, as the book, The Four Agreements came to me, is to start walking the path of the Four Agreements, which is to be impeccable with my word, to not make assumptions, to not take things personally, and to always do my best. And if we look at, I'm sure Jesus got that book at some point.
Yeah.
So he also got the download to apply the 4 agreements, because if I look at that truly is the path that I continue to follow to the best of my ability. And I even now, because it's not a path of perfection. Do not try to perfect it. I've also got stuck there at some point, because if I'm trying to perfect it, it's always going to make me feel like I'm failing, because we are, as humans, we are not perfect. We are here to accept ourselves. We are not here to perfect ourselves. And that's also something I only found out much later. I'm going to repeat that. We are here to accept ourselves. We are not here to perfect ourselves.
I love that.
Yeah, because I found that the path of trying to perfect myself is the path of the ego.
Yeah, you missed the point then.
Yes, because if I'm looking for perfection in myself, like everything that I see outside of myself that is not according to the perfection that I feel that I have found, I'm going to instinctively judge. So that search for perfection drives me up the wall, as it used to, So it was quite a relaxed nervous system state that I went into when I realized what I just said about the acceptance instead of perfection. But yeah, long story short, I feel now that I am getting into quite a deep understanding of what it is to come into acceptance of self. And this actually, now that I think about it, it came up when I found the question. And we find these questions when we search. And the question I found that I applied was, who am I? So this is the question that most of us ask at some point when we do wake up. And I sat and I studied and I read the Bible. A lot of my work came out of the Bible in the beginning, because that's the only path that I knew. And later on, of course, the shamanic path opened up for me. The Buddhist path opened up. The Hindu path opened up, and I started to realize, okay, I'm going to see, if I look at everything around me, what can I find that is a constant? So I started looking for the constant everywhere, instead of just putting myself in a small little box and asking the question, who am I in this box? So I wanted to know, who am I? Can I find a constant if I look everywhere? And when I asked that question, who am I? And I really looked and looked and looked, it dawned on me, punk, and it was like all of a sudden, just like, oh, I'm Satan. People usually get shocked when I say that, like, what? Who are we listening to here? But work with me for a moment. Because the way I saw myself was not worthy of God's love. I felt angry. I felt abandoned, betrayed, and rejected. And every thought that I noticed and everything that I did was to stay safe from rejection. I was in need of acceptance and in fear. I lived in fear of rejection. So everything I did was taking me out of my integrity and impeccability, because I wanted to manipulate the situation to stay safe. I wanted to manipulate the situation to stay out of the danger of being rejected, abandoned, or betrayed. So I was constantly manipulating everything. Every word, I would mince everything before I would speak it. And I was in this constant state of self-hatred. So that's what brought me to the conclusion, I think that I might be Satan. So, and then I said, okay, God, what if I am? Is this who I am? Like in this, because this is according to the scripture, this is like what I think I am. And then I said, okay, if this is who I am, what do I do with this? And God said, accept yourself. And then I'm like, what do you mean accept myself? Because then I looked and I'm like, oh, okay. So as I studied and as I continued with this path, I realized that I have both natures in me. I have access to the satanic nature, and I'm just giving this a name because it's also just labels and metaphors that we've given things. But I have access to the shadow side of myself, and I have access to the light side of myself. So in calling it names, I have access to the Satan side of myself and the Christ nature, or the Buddha nature, or the Shiva nature, or the Krishna nature, whatever, depending on where you're looking from. But then I realized as I continued that, okay, with all of this now, who do I want to be? And then I realized, okay, if I am both, and if I have access to both, and I could choose who would I like to be like? Would I like to be more like Satan, or would I like to be more like Christ? And that's what I feel Jesus came to teach us. And that's what I feel like Buddha and Krishna and all of them, all the teachers are teaching that. We all have that choice inside of us. But if we are not conscious yet of the fact that we have the choice, that is the state of unconsciousness. So the waking up process is the remembrance that we can choose who we show up as. And now that's what I'm constantly doing. And all the practices that I have, the whatever shamanic practices I use and my meditation practice that I use, because I practice Vipassana meditation, which is, well, they say it's not a Buddhist teaching, but it is Buddha that taught it. But it is a universal teaching, because it is simply just, there are no belief systems involved. It is simply sit still, shut up, do this.
Yeah.
And there's no esotericness to it. It is a practical thing that you can apply, that any religion can apply. So that is something that I apply, and I be still and know that I am God. So I don't feel that we can know that God nature of anything if we cannot be still, because the mind is constantly distracting us and making us believe that we are this or that we are that. So all of these practices that I use, I feel is all to help me to firstly come into the stillness and remember that I have choice, and then feel into myself, who am I showing up as in this moment? Am I showing up as my Christ nature, or am I showing up as my Satan nature? Just again to give it names, but my light nature, my true self, or my false self, my imagined self, which is my ego, or my authentic self. Yeah, so that's where I am now. And also I, of course, as I discover more and more of this, I now help others discover this.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for sharing that. That actually leads perfectly into the topic that I wanted to discuss with you today. And that was literally deconstructing the ego narrative, or extricating oneself out of the ego narrative and stepping into one's authentic soul self.
The how.
And the how, and the different practices that are involved in that, and the different ways and methods of getting out of the mind state. But before we jump onto that, I would love to get, so as per our tradition on RealChatz, we literally ask all of our guests to bring a personal artifact or a personal mantra or personal philosophy with. And I believe you have something really special to show us and to share with us. And then we will jump straight into the beautiful conversation that you've really opened up for us. So
Thank
please,
you.
over
Thank
to you.
Yeah, this is going to lead us on a little bit of a shamanic journey. Because this is, it looks like a Harry Potter wand.
It does kind of. Literally, when you first showed it to me, I was like, that's a wand.
Yeah,
that's a wand.
It looks like a wand. It carries a very beautiful energy, and it is on one of my journeys, actually the second trip that I took to the Amazon jungle on the Peru side, just outside of Iquitos. I did some shamanic work there. And this is called Sanango, Abuelo Sanango, which is grandfather Sanango. So this is the root after it's been stripped of the medicine. And the way that the medicine is taken from this, and I'll talk now about what the medicine does, is this root has two soft layers on it. So you first remove the first layer, the surface level layer, lightly scrape it with the back of a knife. And then when that is removed, then there's a soft layer, which is the medicine that is revealed, that you then scrape off the root into a cloth, like a cheesecloth. And then you put that in a cup of water and you let it stand overnight. And the next morning at 3 o'clock, then the ceremony starts, and then you share this full cup with someone else. So you each drink half a cup of this water that is saturated with the medicine of Sanango. And it is a dream root. But it does a lot more than that. But it is a dieta, meaning that is you merge with the intelligence of the plant when you do a dieta. And what the plant offered me was a deep understanding of Buddha's teaching, where he speaks about the middle path. And Sananga, there are many restrictions. So you're only allowed to eat what they give you, and you're not allowed to go. The simplest way of putting this, they explained it in a different way. The shamans explain it in a different way, but it is the same explanation, but I'm going to use Buddha's words. on the dieta, which is a 9-day experience where you in the jungle, and for 3 days that you drink the medicine, but the whole effect lasts for 9 days.
Sure. Okay.
It's either 3 or 4 days. I can't actually remember. It's been quite a few years back. But the point being is that when you get these restrictions of not to think about something that you're not supposed to think about, and to basically stay on that middle path, like I say, I'm going to use Buddha's words, and not go into either craving or aversion. Like stay present as good as you can and stay in acceptance. Now, what the plant does is it amplifies the distortions when you do go into the craving or aversion, because craving and aversion is the realm of distortion, is the ego realm. And I'm going to explain that more now as we go into that, how to exit that.
Yeah.
But craving and aversion is a system. So that is the ego matrix that we come into, and that is the instinctive nature that we all have. Buddha explains this very well, but we can all observe it in the simplest way. I've got a cup of tea here. Now, if I pick up the cup of tea, I can smell it, and then the moment I smell it, there is an automated system that either likes it, doesn't like it, or is neutral about it. Okay, but that is automated. So for the human system, that system of craving and aversion. So now the unconsciously my human can say, "Ooh, I love this," and then a little sankara, a reactive program, is written that I love this, I want more of it. That then leads into an attachment to the tea, which can now make me attached to the tea and me wanting to just have more of it. And that's how every addiction is born. And of course, with aversion, it works the same way, where on the opposite side of the scale, where, oh, I don't like that tea, I never want it, but there is then an aversion, which is a negative energy, which is a rejection that I have for it. So now if I smell that tea, instinctively there will be a negative feeling in me. Okay, so if we are not in our awareness, we just pulled in by that negative feeling, or we pulled in by that craving. And again, all craving also leads to aversion, because if we cannot serve the craving, we get unhappy about it. Yeah. If I can't have that cup of coffee, if I'm addicted to coffee in my morning, I'm going to be complaining about it. So that that complaint, because complaint is, you can feel it's a low frequency, it's a dense frequency. And all of this works with frequency. This whole game works with frequency. It works with your quality of consciousness. Okay, so to not to veer too far off the path with that explanation, we can go into that just now. Let's go back to the story of the root. So when you do take part in this, the spirit amplifies that when you go out of your center. And so much so that you start spinning and puking and feeling horrible. Okay, so the moment you go into the craving or aversion, it shows you the horrible realm that it actually pulls you into, magnified. Yeah. Where when you can stay in your center, it shows you the center of your being, which is comfortable and your nervous system is relaxed. You physically feel well, but you're not possessed by this negative energy then. See, so that 9-day experience took me deeply into the understanding of that, and this spirit is now merged with my consciousness. So, in other words, and we call it spirit in shamanic terms, but you can also see it as a program that I have now loaded onto my game. You know, so my avatar has got this program loaded that helps it with its craving and aversions. You see, so to help it to stay in that center, because it understands it if through physical experience how that can lead to absolute hell over time. You know, it's like a little things that build up. And I feel that it is exactly the same that the Vipassana meditation teaches us. In Vipassana meditation, it also shows us every time that we are in aversion of a negative feeling, that negative feeling grows, and it even becomes a mental story that can turn into an emotional sensation. So, yeah. But now back to the story of the root. To give you a little bit more of what this does, it also takes you into dream states, and all the rules that apply when you're awake also apply in your dream state. So in this shamanic practice, they teach you as well that to become conscious in your dreams and to take responsibility for what happens in there, the same responsibility that you take here. And Of course, also no sexual contact or no sexual thoughts at all, because it's such a intense energy on the medicine. So you keep that energy away as well. And the story then, one of the evenings, can't remember which one, I wake up in this dream where I am in Egypt and I am in the Pharaoh's palace. And my wife is even there at the time, that we are honorary guests of the Pharaoh. And after we had supper, then the Pharaoh gifted me with one of his prize concubines. And I was said that she is the most beautiful woman that I would ever see, and that I could have her for the evening. And I checked in with my wife, because this was not the way we rolled. And she said, yeah, of course, it's a gift from the Pharaoh. It's all allowed. Don't worry about it. That's all good. So everything played with for this to play out. And the moment I saw this woman, I could not believe how I felt. I have never felt that much desire before in my life. So it brought up the strong feeling of desire, which of course on the Sanango is not where you want to go.
Yeah.
But not in that, at that moment, I'm just there. I'm just in the palace. I'm not remembering yet that I am in the jungle.
Dream.
Yes. And as I go into this beautiful, massive room with golden pillars and beautiful silk, and it's just a beautiful experience. This woman, I can remember, I climbed into bed and she was in the bed and she was lying on my right-hand side, and still remembering this feeling of unbelievable desire. And as I leaned forward to start to kiss her, I did the thought Sanango came into my mind. And I'm like, no, don't do this, Sanango, no. And I stopped. And as I stopped, she turned into this horrible looking thing, like this kind of like a lizard being, but like also mummified, but like an horrible. Okay. And I was like, what the hell is happening? No. And then I woke up. So the lesson that I got from that, of course, was I was happy that I did not break my dieta in my dream state, because I don't know what horrible things would have happened to me. But I also realized that they showed me the true face of desire. Because desire wears this mask. Oh, look how beautiful I am. Ooh, I'm so beautiful. But where does it take you? And I'm not just talking about desiring a woman or desiring sex. I'm talking about desire in all of its forms. Because if you think about it, is the whole 3D matrix, as we call it, the whole ego's matrix. What is its lure? Desire. Yeah. The desires of the flesh, as the scriptures call it as well. So, and then, like I say, that they showed me the true face of desire that night. And I was happy to have that experience. And it continued to unfold in my life, how the face of desire the true face of desire continued to reveal itself, and how now that I've seen it, it was easier for me to avoid it, to be trapped by it and to be tricked by it. But yeah, that's the story of this guy, this Harry Potter wand, Abuelo Sanango. And let's go on to the next if you like.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that as well. I think it's such an incredible story that brings light and awareness to the different things that are prevalent in our lives these days. And I mean, as you were saying, desire is something that is in human nature. I mean, it's just in the society that we grow up in. I mean, we're taught to go get a great job, get a good partner, and do all the things, have a fancy car, make millions, do those kinds of things. And all of that is an aspect of an entrapment of desire. Yes. And it's not to say that you can't go and have a fancy car or go and make millions or do whatever those things, but the attachment to that is what causes the stresses and the anxieties, and then the physiological and mental and emotional response to that has a negative impact on life. And that leads nicely into the story of extricating oneself, or the story of extricating oneself out of the ego's narrative, because oftentimes it's the ego that's like, okay, cool, you got to do things this way, and it's my way or the highway, and you create these, as you were saying, aversions and cravings and those kinds of interactions with most things in life. and developing the path of equanimity, or the center path, as Buddha put it, is the goal where you are not averse or attached to whatever circumstance comes about. And I mean, Zen teachings are also all about being in the moment and not in the past or in the future, or wanting things to be other than what they are. So share a little bit about your perspective on the extricating oneself out of the ego's narrative, and how you would recommend people do that. And then we'll dive into a little bit of a topic that I know we're both very passionate about, which is subconscious reprogramming. And they go hand in hand, where you got to look at the story that's going on inside and be able to see, okay, cool, I have a great aversion to chai tea, for example, and then all of a sudden take note of the different things that are going on, and then see, does this story serve me, or does it you know what? Yeah,
for sure.
So
Thank you. Yeah,
take it away.
Let's play. I just want to dive into a little bit, or dive a little bit deeper on what you've just said.
Okay.
On if we look at this realm of desire of the ego, where we desire this and that and the next thing, and the reason why. So if we take it to the root, first, when I come in here, it is cool that I forget who I am. Otherwise, I won't be able to enjoy the game to the fullest.
Yeah.
So the moment I come into this avatar of human, which is also just happening all in the field of consciousness, I'm dreaming that I'm a human, if we want to put it this way as well. But point being, so when I come into the world of sin, and again, what is sin? What does sin mean? Sin simply means that I am out of alignment with my authentic self, and I am now the game character. And in the game character, what is this? The sin is in other words, the falseness. If I look at the missing the mark, because sin means I'm missing the mark, so I'm out of alignment.
Yeah.
Okay. So the thing that takes me out of alignment is that first lie that I believe, and that lie that I believe is that I am not worthy. So everything that I do in this realm, because if at the moment I believe that I am not worthy, then everything else can entice me, because what does everything in this realm sell me? More worth. Why do I want a nice car? Why do I want a nice woman? Why do I want a nice job? Why do I want money? Because it all adds to my worth, because the more I have, the more worthy I am, the safer I feel. So the whole game changes when we step out of I am not worthy, when the worth thing doesn't become even a thought in my mind anymore. So the awakening, the full awakening process, as I said the other day as well on one of my quotes, is that it's not that I have found my worth. It's that I just let go of the idea that it was ever lost.
Yeah.
Just let that sink in, everybody that's hearing this. Because if you are even on the spiritual journey, in your religion, on a no religion, whatever path you are following, if you think that this is now the path that will lead me to my worth, no. If you found your path, let that path lead you to a place where you remember that worth is not even an option in your mind anymore. Then you realize that this whole 3D matrix that's constantly keeping you busy with finding your worth, that's the distraction.
Yeah.
And that distraction, you keep on repeating the same stuff over and over and over, and that's the loops. Okay, so it's the snake that eats its own tail. It just continues to go. It is an infinite realm. The way that it was created is that you will stay here and you will repeat the same thing over and over until you pop out. And the popping out is the remembrance that stop looking for your worth in anything you do, you think, or you speak. So, with that being said, that's where the root goes of what everything else gets born out of. So now let's look at the how. If we said now why we are, what we are in, why we are in there, and how to get out, and also why do we want to get out?
Yeah.
It reminds me of that scene in The Matrix where the guy betrays them, and then he's sitting in the restaurant with Agent Smith, and he takes a bite of the steak and he takes a sip of the wine. You know, it's a cool scene where he's now put back in the matrix, and he says that, okay, cool, you can put me back in the matrix because ignorance is bliss. I don't want to know. I don't want the truth. I just want to be in the matrix, and I want to be rich. Okay, so yeah, that ignorance, we can continue with that ignorance as long as we please. There's really this love of God is unconditional. This game that we have created for ourselves, and I love how the Course in Miracles explains it, where God created us and we made the ego. So we made this realm. It's an imagination of our own. It's our own imagination that we are in. Okay, but now let's get more back to the practical of how to exit. If we look at the ego realm as the imaginary one, and our authentic self is in its word, it is the true one. At some point when your cycle is done, you just come to an end of a cycle where you just realize that it is now time to go back to the authentic self. The way back to the authentic self is to simply start to be authentic. And how to be authentic is not something that the ego can act. It cannot. So that if you believe that you are the character, there is nothing that you can learn that can help you to act more authentic. Because I've seen that. So many, I've been that. What are you talking about? I've also I need to be authentic. How would that look? Okay, I need to now speak like this. I need to stand like this. I need to wear this. And okay, now I'm authentic. It's all an act.
It's another story that you've just created.
Story.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's why I loved and still love practicing Vipassana, because it is coming to the stillness where there are zero stories. The longer you sit still, and the more you sit still, the more you become the awareness, observing that there is a character thinking. So that must be first the step one. That the step one must be to sit still and become aware of the fact that I am not the thinking mind or the feeling body or the emotions. I'm not the body, the mind, or the emotions. That is the system that runs by itself. It is a reactive system. It is very cool when you start to notice it, because now you tell people that, okay, and it's Dr. Hawkins with his work made it so easy for us. He said that the reactive system is very easy to identify. It is the shame, guilt, apathy, grief, fear, desire, anger, and they all belong to the pride system.
I'll put a picture of this on the screen.
Wonderful,
that
thank
our
you.
viewers can get a little view on that as well.
Wonderful, thank you. And of course, that cone continues because the first step to take out of the pride system is courage. And courage will take you all the way to enlightenment. But first, to explain that now, if you say that anger is a cool thing, because anger, if we tell people to use, feel when you that's a little bit irritable or just like pissed off for a moment, or just like, I'm angry at something, okay? So like, you hear that one, but see that one as a little character inside yourself that is now angry. Instead of I am angry. Say anger is with me now. Let's observe anger. And now when anger is with me, because you can feel it. Everybody knows how anger feels. We all know how shame, guilt, apathy, grief, fear, desire, anger, or pride feels. If we are willing to look, we will see. We all know.
Yeah.
And now we're using anger now as an exit point. Okay. So I'm saying to the viewers now and everybody listening here, the next time you in traffic, like listen to that voice. Traffic is a beautiful place to get enlightened. And when you go to your family, of course, as all the gurus would say. But the next time you're in traffic, just hear that little voice, like especially when you're alone. You'll hear that guy or that girl will someone speak out loud. Hey man, what you doing? Hey, stay in your lane. Stop behind the line, you idiot. And look at how you're driving. There's so much it's constantly commenting or giving commentary on how people are doing something wrong. So this whole ecosystem is the system that makes me feel either inferior or superior. And you'll find that all those shame, guilt, apathy, grief, fear, desire, anger, and pride, all of those make me feel, the user, because it's an app. So if I use one of those programs in the app of pride, then it will make me feel either superior or inferior. That's how you notice it's the ego. Because it's got the energy of superiority or inferiority. And the goal is not to be superior, unless you want to start an empire. Because if you want to walk the path of ego, then walk it completely. because those are the emperors. You know, if you want to be a part of the empire, yes, but if you want to be a Jedi, come to this side. You know, but neither is right or wrong, and it is explained like this as well. Like, go and explore for yourself, see who you want to be. So like first go on the path of service to self, if that's what you choose to do, and find out for yourself that path leads to a dead end.
Ram Dass actually put it in a beautiful, beautiful way of he was busy explaining sexual craving and the whole game of that, and he basically put it into terms of the horny celibate. So if you now go on the renunciate path and you go, I'm not Mr. Celibate, and you know you've just turned away from all those desires and those things that could cause cravings in oneself, you end up becoming a horny celibate.
Yeah.
And his whole approach to this, precisely. And his whole process of approaching this was go and explore it and throw everything at it that you've got, because eventually you will see, okay, cool, this leads to nothing. Yes. It's hollow. Yes. It's a hollow feeling that it creates. Yes. And then naturally, as you beautifully put it as well, and I've seen this in different areas of my life as well, you naturally get to a point where it feels like a dead end. Yeah. It's like, okay, this doesn't serve me anymore. Why am I doing this? And the second you ask that question of why am I actually doing this? It doesn't serve me. I don't enjoy it, or it's hollow, or, you know, you followed it to the end of its thread. It naturally, that's the
tantric path as well. You follow everything to the end of its thread until you know for yourself. Yeah. And I have done that.
That's the perfect time to change.
That. Yeah. I have followed everything to the end of its thread to realize that this path leads nowhere. That's why I never try and stop anybody when they're doing anything. Because everybody is here on their own curriculum, and they have to know for themselves. I mean, it's in the Bible even, and I know I bring it up quite a bit, but I did study the Bible a bit. But it says, go out and explore everything and keep what is good for you. No, so keep what is good. So, and how would you know what is good if you haven't explored? And this is where I feel that as parents, we want to protect our children from what is bad. Yeah. I have seen so many parents and children become enemies because the parents want to stop the child from finishing their curriculum, from completing what they are here to do on a soul level. And then that child has to break away from the parent to continue its curriculum. And then they become enemies. So if we as parents can just wake up to the understanding that, okay, my child is here to follow a certain curriculum and I am here to hold space. Let me see how much love I can pour into this child and how much I can be their ally in whatever they need to experience and be there to pick them up instead of being there to stop them from falling. Because if it's in their curriculum to fall, however they're going to fall, they're going to fall. Yeah. And if I am attached to it as attached to the role of parent, I'm going to take it on my own selfish self and blame myself for it. And then blame my child for making me feel so bad. That's a dark story, man. Yeah. But yeah, we're bringing consciousness in and we are busy waking up. So the light is coming in and more parents are busy waking up to the realization that this is how the game actually works. So I'm just placing that blessing into the ether as well so that we don't just get stuck in the dark side of it. Yeah. But let's go back to a little bit more into the explanation. Let's go to more practical step-by-step information on how to shift out of the ego, because we spoke about some energies and how you in traffic. But let's give some practical application and so that it can be a fun game that you play.
How do you rewrite the narrative, so to speak?
100%, yeah. So as the ego, first that I'm going to answer on that is as the ego, as the character, I cannot rewrite the narrative. I am not allowed to rewrite the narrative as the ego because I do not have access to the mainframe. So I do not have access to being the director as the ego. Only when I enter the soul level, I can start changing the narratives. Okay? So in other words, step number one is I have to let go of my attachment to the character I think I am. And what is attachment? My belief that this is all I am. And my holding on to my belief systems of this is all I am. So I have to loosen a little bit, and meditation obviously helps a lot with that.
Yeah.
Where I can sit still and just observe this voice and remember that I am not this, and then it becomes an actual experience. You experience yourself being the awareness. You hear the thoughts arise. You see the thinker thinking the thoughts, and as you let go of your attachment to the thinker, it dissolves. It's like, what? Whoa! Oh, I'm this, and you feel that zoom, that expansion take place. You can feel it. That's why also I love the plant ceremonies, because they can be a raft, and it is something that can temporarily it can temporarily pop you out of it and boom, pop you into your soul, and you realize that, oh, I'm not this. Oh wow, I'm this. But then you have to, as you come out of that, it will take you back into the ego mind. But you're never the same after that. So, but then the meditation is so important so that you can then now walk there. Yeah. You can be shown by the plants, but the plants cannot take you there. You have to walk there yourself. And in my personal experience, I tried every shortcut available in this game. No shortcuts can take you there. You've got to walk there yourself. Shortcuts can only give you a view of what is possible and what you're capable of, but you've got to walk there yourself. And I feel on my path, what I've discovered is meditation is what works for me. But to go back to the practical application, now we're back in traffic, and you observe now this feeling that you get, because there is a payoff. Every time that you blame or complain, there is a payoff. You feel slightly superior.
Yeah, I'm right and they're wrong.
100%. Yeah. So everything that the ego sells you as a complaint or a blame makes the inferior one, because if you're identified with the inferior one, then only superiority will look like something that you need. It can only entice the inferior one. It cannot entice the balanced one, the authentic one. So this feeling of superiority can only entice you when you're still attached to the one that feels inferior. Very important. So of course the awakening process is realizing I am not the inferior one or the superior one, I am the one. In other words, I am equal to you, I'm equal to an ant.
Life is life.
Yes, it's equality. All is the same. I'm equal. A plant has got the same importance as what I have. So you let go of this less and more importance. Okay, because the ego feels unimportant, and it is always on the quest of gaining more importance. Okay, so that's how you also identify the ego game. Okay, and that's just the character. So now observing this character, it is in a constant state of pointing out what is wrong. And as you notice it, realize, oh, this is not me. And how is this serving me? Is this serving me? Is this serving my authentic self? And if you still believe that is serving yourself, then you are still identified with the ego, then let that road play out until you get to the end of it. Yeah. See how it serves you. Continue to blame and complain and feel the energy of it. And if that energy serves you, then that is still part of your curriculum. But if you are on the curriculum where you want to come into the authentic self, where you've realized that type of suffering is no longer what you feel like, then start to disidentify from the voice in the head that is blaming and complaining. I am never blaming and complaining. I am only attached to, in other words, identified with the app in my head that's blaming and complaining. If you see it this way, it's easier to disconnect. Because if I think that I am blaming and complaining, I'm first going to go through another ego trap that's going to blame and complain about my self-blaming and complaining. Yeah. So it's going to take me into my own judgment for self. Because I'm now judging others. Oh my God, I'm so bad. Oh, I'm judging people so bad. And then the face hands to the face because it's shame that's felt. Shame and guilt. See, now I want to hide. I make myself small. So skip that whole process and just realize it's an app running.
I think the one thing that's really, really helped me along that process is to figure out that I'm not my mind. Because if I say to you, don't think of a pink elephant, the likelihood is that a pink elephant wandered through your mind and you saw something along those lines. But you didn't think that. You observed the thought floating through there. Yes. And the fact that an external stimuli can bring about an internal process and happening means that you can't be that internal thing because you're the observer. But you can't be the car that you're driving and the driver at the same time. So that little differentiating factor of, okay, I'm not the thoughts, I'm not the emotions, I'm experiencing them. They're floating through. We'll invite them for a cup of tea, but they're not you as the individual. And that differentiating factor makes it a lot easier to say, okay, cool. Let's question the narrative. Let's figure out where it's trying to take us, and does it actually serve us?
I love that, because it brings me to the remembrance as well that if it is a visitor, then honor all visitors. Whether it is anger, whether it is shame, whether it is evil, like whatever, there's now a darkness that is with me. It is a visitor. It is not me. It is not more powerful than me. It is just simply a visitor. Hello, I can feel, okay, who's with me? Sadness. Oh my God, it's so dense. It's so icky. It's so heavy. Oh, it's so sad. I feel so depressed. Oh, is that how you feel? Hello, visitor. I don't feel this way. It is with me. The feeling is with me. And if I identify with it, I will become it.
Yeah.
But if I pull myself out and I say, okay, you're a visitor, let's have a look at you. I honor you. I honor the fact that you are here. What are you offering me? Oh, I see thoughts of this and thoughts of that and these thoughts. Oh, I see every single thought that is coming from you is feeding how you feel. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, cool. Do I want to continue with this? No. Let's sit with this for a moment and say, oh, I'm not this, but this can be with me for a moment. That acceptance and allowance is bringing you into your true self, because the false self is going to be in aversion for what it's feeling and craving it for it to pass. That's why all addictions exist, because we cannot accept what is. We want to escape it.
Yeah.
We want to change it. First accept, then change. That is the key. First accept, then change.
Yeah.
Why? Because I am the energy of unconditional love. So my frequency of acceptance takes me back to my authentic self. That's the key. Where if I'm in non-acceptance, I am the ego.
Yeah.
Because it is its nature to be in non-acceptance of self, and it is my nature to be in acceptance of self. So how do I know I'm identified with the ego? I am identified with the one that is not in acceptance of self or the situation. So that blaming and complaining app is running in my mind.
That's a beautiful little awareness to be able to impart on the situation there. Thank you very much for your time today. I really, really appreciate this. We are going to have to do a follow-up on this as well.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah, no, this
touching
is
the surface.
Yeah, we're literally only scratching the tip of the iceberg over here. But yeah, Michael, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I really look forward to having you back on the podcast as well. Thank you so much.
Andrew, thank you so much. Thank you.